Hey everyone, welcome to the next episode of our web design tutorial series. I'm Michał from mdbootstrap.com and today I will teach you how to create this animated credit card with glass effect built with the newest Bootstrap 5. Really awesome. Without further ado, let's jump into the code. In this tutorial, I will use Material Design for Bootstrap, which is a free library that greatly extends the capabilities of regular Bootstrap and provides many useful features, like for example, better look, additional components, free templates, and even a free hosting for your projects. To download Material Design for Bootstrap, go to mdbootstrap.com and click big blue Get Started button. Then click big red Download button and unzip the package. Then open it in your favorite code editor. I am using Visual Studio Code. To launch MD Bootstrap project, you need to open it in the browser. You can do it simply by dragging and dropping index.html file into the browser window. If you use Visual Studio Code Editor, you can also install extremely useful extension called Live Server. It enables a live reload feature, so it will refresh the browser anytime you change anything in your code, so you don't need to do it manually. At the beginning, let's remove an existing content of index.html, so that we have an empty canvas ready to start new project. Select everything in between the Start Your Project Here comments, remove it, and save the file. Now we are ready to start our work. Let's start with creating a card, and instead of using Bootstrap card component, we will use utility classes and we will create a custom card with a usage of shadow 4 utility class and also rounded, let's say 5. Now let's add some content inside to see if it works. And here you can see a card with a shadow. So right now let's add some padding. So inside of this card, inside of the element with this utility classes, let's create a div with padding 4 class, and maybe let's increase this to padding 5. Let's add a comment to make our code readable. Right now it's not a problem because we have a very little code, but soon it will be a lot. Now we need to center the card vertically and horizontally, and we'll use Flexbox for this. So let's create a div with the flex class, and let's add justify content center to align it horizontally and align items center to align it vertically. And now let's place our card inside this div with a flexbox. And now we also need to set a height to the container to 100%. And actually we will not use percentages to set a height. We'll use a viewport units, that means VH. And we can do this in Bootstrap by using VH 100 here. And now it's centered vertically and horizontally. But we cannot see it is centered horizontally because it's stretched full width. So now let's set a height and width to the card itself. I'm going to add an ID to this card so I can refer to this in CSS. And now let's open style tags, and here let's grab our credit card, and now let's set a height to 270 pixels and width to 450 pixels. And let's remove this dummy paragraph because we don't need this. Our card is right now barely visible, so it would be a good idea to increase the contrast with a background. So let's set a color to the background and actually to the body element. And let's set a background. Well, we'll use a gradient here, but as a fallback for all browsers, it's a good idea to always set a hex color in case of if something doesn't work properly. And background linear gradient to left, and let's use these colors. Now we'll add a famous glass effect to the card. It's very simple. First, we'll set a background color to the card to white, but with a usage of HSL color and with an opacity. So let's set the background to HSLA, and white will be 0% and 100% of lightness, and let's set an opacity to 0.2. And now a backdrop filter, blur, and let's say 30 pixels. And to see this actual effect, we need to place some content behind the card, so we'll get to this soon. And I think we can also increase the roundness of the corners. So instead of rounded 5, let's use rounded 9. Alright. And now we'll create these cool circles behind the card. Thanks to them we can see an actual glass effect. Let's start with creating a divs. I'm creating a comments here, and inside of the comments let's create a div with ID circle 1, and below a div with an ID circle 2. Now let's add a few classes to each of the circle. Position absolute to enable absolute position, rounded circle to set a circle shape, and let's set opacity to 80. And the same classes will apply to the second circle. Right now we cannot see the circles because we need to set height, width and colors. And as you can see in this project, we try to use the Bootstrap and MD Bootstrap classes as often as possible. And we are adding custom CSS only to define size and colors. And that makes sense. If you decide to use a framework or library, you just should to use classes that it offers you. So let's set a height and width to the first circle. Height 100 pixels and width the same, and let's set a background to radial gradient, and let's use these colors. I made a typo here. It should be position, and the same here. Now let's set a position to the first circle to top minus 50 pixels, and left to -60 pixels. As you can see, the circle moved to the top left corner of the screen, and that's because position absolute needs a relative container, and in this case it's just a browser window. But we can easily fix this if we place all the content inside of a div with a class position relative. Let's add a comment here. And let's paste our content. And now it works as expected. Now let's set size and background color to the second circle as well. So let me just copy this, and the second circle will be a bit bigger, so height and width 200 pixels, and the position bottom instead of top, let's say -90, and instead of left, right, -90, bottom right, circle 2, and I forgot to add pixels unit here. Now let's add content to the card. So here let's add comments, and inside let's add a div with class text white, and then let's add img element, and let's add source file. I've prepared the Visa logo here, and let's set an ID to this element, logo Visa, and below let's add another img with a link to the chip image, and let's set ID to chip. Now inside of our CSS let's set logo Visa width to, let's say, 80 pixels, and the same with a chip element, but the width equals to 50 pixels. And I made some typo here, logo Visa. Alright, and because we don't want these images to be in the same line, we need to place this logo Visa img element inside of a div. And now let's add class text and to align it to the right. And let's also add some margin bottom. And now we can move further. Now let's add a card number H5 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 0 2 1 3 4 5 6, and it will be a good idea to add some margin bottom to the chip image. MB4 should be fine, and below let's add a div element with a flexbox, and let's add a name, Immortal John Doe, an expire date. Let's say 12/25, and let's set justify content between. Alright, and maybe margin bottom to the number of the card. We can make a few small improvements to this text. So here, to this wrapper, I'm sorry, this one, which contains all the text, we can add a class ls_widest, and thanks to this, each letter has more space between each other. And let's set opacity to 80, and let's also set font weight to light. And now the entire card looks just lighter. And now we'll add these two cool rings only with a usage of CSS. Oh, that will be fun. So here below this div with p5 class, let's add a div with an ID rings. Let's set a position to position absolute with a class position absolute. And now we'll need few lines of custom CSS. So let's grab this by ID. Let's say height to 500 pixels and width also to 500 pixels. Border radius equals 50% to make a perfect circle. Background transparent. Border 50 pixels solid. HSL A00, maybe 01. Bottom position to minus, and right to minus 200 pixels, and box sizing to border box. And now let's also add the second ring by using ring after pseudo selector and content to null, position, oh actually we have this position to absolute, 600 pixel high, with the same, border radius 50%, and we can just copy this and let's set bottom to minus 80 pixels and right to minus 110 pixels. Box sizing border box, and I think we need to define a position to absolute, even if we defined it to inside of this div with a usage of the class, because it's an additional element with a usage of after selector. So position absolute And I made some typo, I think. Oh, okay, it should be rings, not ring, and here should be pixels. And let's also change border from 50 pixels to 30 pixels. And now all we need to do is to add overflow hidden class to the card. And now to add this nice 3D animation, we need to use external library, very small one, and it's called Vanilla Tilt. In the description of this video you will find a link to this library, so go there and click here and then save it and add to your project. And here is my project inside of JS directory. And now I will link it. And all I need to do right now is to add an attribute to the credit card. And the attribute is data tilt. Let's see if it works. And yes, it works. By the way, did you know that thanks to MD Bootstrap you can use free hosting for your projects? We call it MDBGo and it's really great. Visit mdbgo.com for more information. In the description of this video you'll also find a link to the detailed tutorial on how to use MDBGo hosting and how to install MDB CLI, which is a fantastic and free supporting tool that provides many useful functionalities. Now, let me just show you how easy it is to publish our newly created project on the internet thanks to MDBGo. I already have MDB CLI installed on my computer, so now all I need to do is to run my terminal, and then I need to enter the path of the project I want to upload. So here is the directory where we have downloaded the MDB package and where we have been working during this tutorial. So let me just copy this path and let's enter this. And now I need to type only a single command mdb publish, and I will choose npm package manager, and then all I need to do is to choose a name for my project. So let's type glass card, and then I will accept all other options. And after a few seconds, my project will be available at this link. Let's see if it works. And yes, it does. Super simple and super fast. That's it for this tutorial. Let me know in the comments if you found it useful. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and join our Facebook group. Thank you for watching and see you in the next tutorial.